Ah, unmute, and we got this light right here. Hi, everyone. I think my volume's on. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Cool. Welcome to our dental impression extravaganza. I'm Dr. Swiatowicz, dentist up in the Pike Creek area. If you're not from Delaware, it's 15 minutes from campus. Graduated from UD in 2006. God, so this is my 15-year anniversary. That sucks. Went to University of Maryland Dental School, graduated there in 2010, a year-long general practice residency at Christiana Hospital, which is any residency, not just at Christiana Hospital, is required to get a license in the state of Delaware, but it's also a great thing to do. I'm a big proponent of that afterwards. And graduated that, was an associate for 2 years in a practice, bought it, and then ta-da, here we are today. I've got my lovely and talented dental assistant, Bree, is here with me today. She's going to help me out with this first part. So I figured we'd get down to business so then she can get on with her life instead of hang out with me after working all day. And then we can kind of talk about really anything you want there. But so what we're going to do today, this was really fun 2 years ago. And was anybody here last time we did this? It would have been pre-COVID 2019. I'm seeing mainly no's. That's okay. That's why we're doing it today. Taking dental impressions on each other. Now, you should all have received a little kit with a few things in there, an impression tray, and upper or lower. If it covers everything, like looks like a big plate there, that's for your upper teeth. If it's more of a horseshoe, that's for your lower. You also had a pre-measured pack of dental alginate, which is the impression material, and we'll go over mixing it up. Bree's going to demo by taking a model on me. And then last time we did this in 2019, you guys had partners and did it on each other. It is possible to take dental impressions on yourself. It is not the most normal or unawkward thing to do. So that's all right. We'll just make a mess and it'll be great. Then you should also have a cup with a water line measured for the exact amount of the impression material, and then a thing of stone. Did we label the alginate versus the stone? Yes. Do not mix up the stone and put it in your mouth. You will regret it, and I am nowhere near able to help you from being up here. So make sure you are very sure you're putting in the alginate. Some people had foil bags with them. Some people had Ziploc bags, but it clearly marked alginate. It is clearly marked with alginate.
Some people didn't get.
Oh, some people did not get spatulas. I'm sorry. If you don't have a spatula, a spoon or broad knife, or if you're a baker, you probably have a spatula of some sort at home. You can use that to mix the stuff. So yeah, dental impressions we use for a lot of different reasons in an office. It's a pretty important thing to be able to take good models. Now, we actually rarely take models with the way you're going to do on each other right now in our office, because we love digital impressions, because there's less goopy stuff, they're more accurate. You don't have to store boxes of people's teeth for 7 years, because that is how long you have to hold on to stuff. But we just put it in the cloud. So after we do the old-fashioned way, which still has a place in dentistry, I'll show you digital impressions and kind of how they compare there and what we can use them for. But impressions of any type, I mean, they're used to make crowns, bridges, dentures. Orthodontists use them to plan out braces and how things are going to move. In my practice, we do a lot of sleep apnea treatment. So we use them to make appliances for the treatment of sleep apnea, or night guards, bite splits, using them to make that. And sometimes it's just good to have a set of models to show a patient really what their teeth are and what they could be. And that's sometimes the best way to do it. And again, it's 2021, we can do things digitally and get that information across in a little cleaner fashion with them. But I mean, even when I first started in dental school in 2006, like it was impressions on every patient. That's just what you did. But like I said, we'll get started with that to do that. And feel free throughout the presentation. I'm assuming everybody's very well versed in Zoom or Zoom-like atmospheres with what you're doing. I've got the chat box open, so if there are questions that pop up along the way, feel free to type them in for this part here. But I'm going to have Bree start by taking an impression of myself. And I'll kind of talk through this up to the point of me having a bunch of goopy stuff in my mouth. But if everybody has their impression tray, try it into, what sizes did we have? Medium. So those of you with really tiny mouths, it may be a stretch, and if it's too much, you may not want to do it. Those with really big mouths, sorry, you probably won't get everything, but you want to try in the tray there for yourself. So I'll have Bree try in my tray.
Yep.
And we'll kind of get closer here. And I'm sorry, I've got like my awkward light over me, but it makes me look very angelic. So that's nice. So
You open and you kind of just go to the side.
And oh, thank you.
Yep.
Ideally, you want it to cover the last tooth in your mouth. And you don't really want it poking into your gums too much. These are kind of one size fits most. So you will have a little bit of irritation trying in the tray by itself. But once you get the stuff in there, it'll be a little more cushioned. I can't see everybody on the same screen. If you have a has anybody had models taken on themselves before? Yeah, if you've had braces, you've had either digital or this. If you've got a really strong pronounced gag reflex, hopefully you have a lower one. Those are less likely to make you gag. If you are at all concerned about gagging, just don't do it. Watch a screen full of other people do it and laugh at the hilarity that will ensue. So Bree, I'm going to let you talk real quick about proper mixing of the stuff, and then we'll take a model on myself and then have you guys do it on each other. So to Bree.
Hello. All right, so it's pretty easy. They always send you different measuring cups for how much alginate that you're going to need. So if you're doing an upper, you always do 3 scoops, and you don't want them mounding. You take the excess off the top and you do 3 scoops into your bowl there.
But you guys can just dump what you have.
Yours is all pre-measured.
Because we like you.
Yep. And then normally you'll have a cup like this instead of a cup that has Sharpie on it. But I was able to find out exactly how much for each one of you guys there. So whenever you do mix, you ready?
Oh, you're going. Oh, shoot. We're like legit doing this.
We're
now.
doing it.
Okay. So.
All right. So what you do is you just pour this in here. And when mixing, you want to first kind of go like there so you don't make a huge mess, and then you kind of can go quicker, and you make sure you want to get it up on the sides. And once all the powder is gone, you want to start loading in your tray here. I usually go on each side.
If
you don't want to put too much into the palate, because then that's going to go all the way down your patient's throat. Yeah. And always add a little bit more on the front, because the anteriors are a lot harder to get.
So less is more with this stuff for you guys, especially without us being in person there.
All right. And then go ahead and have them take a big swallow and then open. And you set the back down first, and then you kind of wiggle up to the front there. And then you want to go underneath, make sure you have pressure, but not too much, because you don't want to hit the teeth. And some people set timers for this. I've always preferred just having a little bit extra material in my hand and just playing with it until it sets up.
How long?
Minute and a half to 2 minutes.
Yeah. Okay. Ready?
We're getting there. Are you drooling on us?
Uh-huh.
The lower ones cause a lot more drool. That's usually why we put the bibs on the patients. I should have put the bib on you.
Wow.
Not there yet.
Uh-huh.
Takes longer whenever everybody's staring at you.
Uh-huh.
You get that?
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
You're heating it.
I know, I hate that so much. All right.
All right. And whenever you feel like it's done, I always wait 10 more seconds.
Awesome.
Yep. You want to make sure it's all set up everywhere. To remove it, you want to go up on the side all the way in the back and get your finger and you break the seal and pull out. And then you have a beautiful impression.
Yay, Bree! Yeah, wonderful round of applause for Bree.
Actually, that was pretty
That's
good.
pretty good, yeah. And we'll show how to pour these up. I see Ruth had a question. We'll go over one more time all the instructions. We're not going to throw you to the wolves there. One of the things you can do, because you should have leftover material in there, is kind of have some just in the bowl handy or in your fingers. When you start kind of squeezing it and it bounces back, that's when it's kind of set up there. It really should take on a very putty form to it. So another test too you can do with your fingernail is kind of press into it and have it rebound there. It shouldn't leave a sharp indentation, and that's when you know it'll be done. And then after you get that done, before you put it in, pour up the stone, which I'll go over, it's always best to keep alginate materials, not all dental impressions, but the material you have, wrap it in a paper towel and just dampen it, because that'll keep it from deforming before you can pour it up there. So that'll be that. And before we do that, I'm going to do digital to see how much better. So that was about, what would you say, start to finish 4 minutes to take a model of just my top teeth. It's what people have done for over a century to do dental impressions there, but there are better ways. So I'm going to show the digital, and then we'll go back to you guys for doing your own. So let me just get my stuff set up and try to minimize things that I knock over. So, and if I were snazzy enough, I would know how to do this on my phone at the same time, but we'll kind of get a view here. So what we have, obviously it's just, they're smaller and smaller versions of these things. This one is probably, gosh, I think 2018. So it's 3 years old now. They're basically laptops with a little wand here. So the impressions we just took are a negative image of your mouth. So it's kind of like photography. You take a picture, that's a negative, you do a print of it, or in this case, you pour up the model, and then you have a physical model of the teeth again, of what they actually look like. Digital impressions take a real-time images of the person's mouth and constructs a 3D mouth on the screen out of that. What's nice about digital impressions is they're more accurate. You can get a lot more detail from them. And like I said, you don't have to store them forever. And when digital impressions first came into popularity, really, the sales reps would come to your office and tell you like, oh, and you'll become a better dentist because you'll see stuff differently. And you're like, whatever, dude, I'm going to drop the 20 grand. Just, I don't need the sales pitch. But it is actually true. And I hate it that he was right about it, because when I'm shaping a crown for a tooth, and I'm looking through my magnifying loops, I see it and I'm like, yeah, that looks pretty good. I'm happy with that. But when I blow it up full size on a screen, I'm like, oh, dental OCD is kicking in. That's a little rough there. And then you go back and shape it down a bit more or refine it. And you really do become a better dentist by being more critical of yourself. So he was right. That's okay though. The downsides of digital impressions and why we still have to take traditional impressions are really good at capturing hard tissues, which in your mouth are the teeth. Not so good at capturing your soft tissues, the gum, the palate, the edges of where a denture would go, where it's all movable stuff. That you still need a traditional impression for at least now, because you can't really capture the consistency or resistance of those tissues using a digital impression. They're getting better. I make a lot of night guards for people where I capture the palate and we get pretty accurate reads on them. But like I said, a denture in particular, you're still going to need to be able to take a good traditional impression. So it still has its place in dentistry. And I see another question from Kush. You either have you have one tray, either a bottom or a top tray. Are you cleaning? All right. So with that being said, I'm going to show you a digital impression real quick. I'm going to actually scan her whole teeth, and then we'll move on to the part where you guys get to actually do it. So, I suppose since I am being a doctor here, I should, we're put on gloves. We're close, but not that close. All right. And I will try to position this in such a way that you guys may be able to see in real time, and also try not to ruin my computer. I know not the best view there, but we'll work it out. And what's great too with this, and I'll even, after I take this, I'll show a little later, you can, this system is paired with Invisalign, which I'm sure a lot of you have heard of or seen an advertisement for. It will, after I take these models, it can do a simulation of what a person's before and after would look like after some form of orthodontics, which if you're looking from a case presentation standpoint is a pretty powerful tool in getting patients to see the value in the dentistry that you're doing. So I'm going to start taking pictures of Bree's teeth. Give me a baby. And open. So the screen on the bottom left is the real-time picture. And then in the center of the screen, and I'll show you a bigger one at the end, is the image that's being created from the photo. And the way this used to be is you had to take like little still shots, and you had a foot pedal that would take a picture at each time, and then it would stitch the picture together. The way the systems are now, and you can see I'm getting the palette now, it's essentially taking hundreds of little photos a minute and creating a real-time image of Bree's teeth on the screen for me. And it fills in as you're going. And again, you're limited to some of the stuff you can get. Like I said, soft tissues in particular don't come in too well in terms of the accuracy if you're resting something on it. And you're also, even though you'll see in a second what you're doing will feel like a mouthful, this is still essentially a camera that's going in somebody's mouth and taking pictures. So somebody who has limited opening or a really tiny mouth may still have some troubles with that. But I found one patient in my whole career who I couldn't use this on. Everybody's been able to do it. And sometimes you compromise. Very backs of the last teeth, if they've got wisdom teeth, for example, may not come in clearly. And you say, well, I wasn't going to do anything on the wisdom tooth anyway, so it's okay. So that took me about maybe a minute to do the entire top. So now I'm going to do the bottom. Suck through your teeth again. Open. I'm sorry, I should be wearing a mask, but will live. So again, we're capturing in real time here. And patients on the bottom, they always want to help you. And they're like, oh, I'll move the tongue to the other side of the mouth. They are really not helping you at all. It actually makes life more difficult, but you don't want to tell the patient they're being more difficult. So you say, oh, thank you. Now just relax your tongue and try to be nice when really you want to say, I swear to somebody, if you do that again, I'm gonna, but that's okay. We don't say that. We just say thank you. Now, one of the things too is it was having a hard time finding me because I jumped ahead of a tooth, so it didn't know where to stitch that information together. So I had to backtrack a bit, but that's okay because it's just going to keep creating it as we go. So we'll check everything out, make sure we got what we need. And what's nice too with the digital impressions, not only have I taken upper and lower already for her, but now I'm going to take what we call a bite record. So how her teeth relate to each other. And I'll have a copy of that too. So again, bite tight. Open, bite tight. Do we have models in there already of you? And then we're done. So what's cool too is this has created my model. My lab can do whatever I need on it right now. I'm sorry. We'll switch up. My lab can create whatever I need off of this. Now, if this were a traditional impression, I'm done with this part. Now I got to go down to the lab, pour it up with stone, let the stone set for 30 minutes to an hour, go back down, pour up a base, let that set for 30 minutes to an hour, cut everything up and trim it, and then send it to the lab. Meanwhile, I would hit send on this and the lab would start doing what they need to do. So that's kind of cool. It gets it right away for you. But there we are. That is Bree in her entirety. Oh, yeah, there we can take a look at just her bottom teeth. The inside, this would be like a negative image that you would take with a traditional impression. You can also take a look too, and this is important when you do things like crown and bridge work. It tells you through this color here that you're seeing how tight somebody's bite is. So for dental materials, you have to have a certain amount of thickness of the material for it to be strong. So the thinnest a crown can really be is 1 millimeter. So if I were shaping this tooth here for a crown and I saw that I was in the red somewhere, I would say that doesn't give my lab enough space. I run the risk of that crown breaking or that bite being really high and irritating that patient. But again, what I can do now is I see in real time that, oh, I need to give my lab more space so I can do the best dentistry I possibly can. So I would go back and I would drill that part of the tooth down in the red there. I would come back on my screen here and I've got an eraser tool, circle the area that I adjust it and take a new picture of it. And then voila, another 5 seconds and I've got the perfect impression again. Again, if I looked at it and after I took my model the old-fashioned way and I looked to see how the bite was, and I was like, that's really tight. I really need to give the lab some more space. I'd make the adjustment and then take a model all over again. Time consuming and really not in the patient's best interest. As you guys will see soon, this is not fun. This is less not fun and more accurate too. So it's a, nope, now it's asking me to erase, never mind. It really is helpful in creating better dentistry. And what's cool too, I can't show on this right now, but if you had a new patient and every new patient who came in, you wanted to get some records of their teeth, you could take a digital model and next year, 2 cleanings after, take a new model, because you'll find a lot of patients, you'll express concern, oh, this tooth is wearing down a lot. I'm worried about grinding. We may end up needing, no, I don't grind. It's not wearing, it's fine. You can take this model and you can show, well, actually, we have a year to year and you've ground away 1/10 of a millimeter of tooth structure, which doesn't sound like a lot, but in the mouth, a millimeter is a mile. It's a ton of space. And so that means in 10 years, you cut down a millimeter of your tooth, and your tooth is, depending on the tooth, only 7 to 10 millimeters tall. Okay, you're taking away a lot, and it may be 10 millimeters tall, but that nerve is only 3 millimeters away from the end of it. So it's only a matter of time until you grind your tooth down into the nerve. That's something we really want to avoid for our patients. So it's a good way to communicate that to them, like, hey, I know you're not noticing it, which is good because that means you're not in pain, there's no discomfort. I'm concerned that I'm seeing your tooth lost, and you can see here where it's coming. So it's a really powerful tool. Nearly every dental school incorporates this into their curriculum somehow. So hopefully, I mean, bye, Bree, thank you. I did one crown in dental school with a digital impression, and I was one of the few people who did. I think it's probably almost the standard now for most people. So with that being said, let's have you guys do it. So I'll go over the instructions one more time with you. You should need 5 things right now. Your impression tray that you want to place in either upper or lower, confirm the fit. If it's too big for you, or you don't think you could have it in your mouth for 1.5 to 2 minutes, just kind of watch and maybe have a friend or do it on a friend later. So everybody just make sure your tray fits real quick. If you haven't done so already, just try in. Upper ones, you don't have to worry about anything. Lower ones, if you have one of those, once you put the lower one in, kind of lift your tongue up in between that space. When you're taking the impression, you're going to rest your tongue on the top of it there.
What's the difference between an upper and a lower tray?
What it covers. So an upper will get the palate. So it covers that area too, because the palate is for appliances. It's going to serve a lot of purposes there. So that's what the upper will be. It will be a full one, while the lower, you can't do that because you've got a moving tongue. And if you sandwich a tongue underneath an impression, it's going to push on the material and distort the image you're trying to create of the teeth. So that's why normally what I'll tell patients, especially with dentures, is you put in the tray and you say, I want you to lift your tongue up and stick it straight out. Then I have them lick from corner to corner of their mouth. And if it's a little old lady, I'll say like, all right, now be real sexy for me. I want you to slowly lick your lips there. And they always get a good laugh out of it. Or they just look at me like I'm a creeper. And I'm like, well, that one didn't go over too well. Read the audience. That's what you got to do. But that's a good question, the difference between the upper and lower. Sometimes if a patient has a heavy gag reflex and I don't care about getting any of the information on the palate, I'll use an upper one to just have less material in there. So after you've tried in your tray, you should empty your alginate. Remember, alginate, not stone. Please be careful. Empty that into your bowl. And then if you haven't done so already, fill up your water cup up to that 2.5 milliliter line there. If you want the material to set up a little quicker, use warm water there. Cold water will make it set up a little slower. I'm sure that's some law of thermodynamics that I've forgotten at some point that you have to know because you will be tested on it to get to dental school. So whatever that is, that's why that happens. Once you have your material in your bowl and your water and everything's confirmed, you can dump the water into the bowl and start mixing it. Don't go a big, vigorous mix right away. Kind of go just gradually to get as much powder saturated with the water. And then, is anybody a Schitt's Creek fan? Yeah, you fold it in. That's all you do. You fold it in. I had a great slide with a meme and everything, but that's all right. It's not on there. But you do want a consistency of like a dough. You shouldn't see little flakes of powder in there once you've started mixing it. Once it's got to that dough consistency, and you can really be aggressive when you're mixing it after you've got it all incorporated with the water, then you want to load up your tray, taking bits out at a time and kind of scraping it in there to cover the whole area. Once it's in, I tend to then just, with my finger, go across, make it flat, and then put it in. Once you get it in your mouth, if it's a lower, again, stick your tongue out, move it side to side. And then one thing you can do to get the edge just a little better is kind of pucker your lips around it, and that will get it over that edge. You don't want your lip to get stuck under like this. You want the lip on the outside. So if you guys are comfortable and ready, go for it. Mix away. Like I said, it takes about 2 minutes when it's in there. Once it's set up, you'll just want to kind of pull it out.
Quick question.
Yep.
Is the lower tray supposed to be like easily rested on the lower jaw? Or
That's, yeah. Is it too small?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, is it not wide enough for your jaw? If
it's okay, I'll just watch.
yeah, I was gonna say one thing you can do to try, if you've got like a torch of some sort, or even just like holding it over your like your oven, not like letting it touch, just to warm it up, and then you can kind of pull it out there. That'll reshape it slightly. A lot of times patients have, and I'm just going to talk as you guys are doing it on yourselves. A lot of times patients have very unique anatomy. So the first time you take an impression, you kind of do the best you can with what you have. And then you make what's called a custom tray, where off of that model you poured up, you'll then take material to shape it that it will fit just their mouth. Because ideally you only want about 1.5 to 2 millimeters of impression material in your tray. Too much, and then it starts to distort a little, which again is one of the flaws of traditional impressions. I'm going to take a photo of us here. Yay, good job, everyone. Is that a digital impression? This is an actual image of the patient's mouth in this point in time. When you make something off of it, it's going to be accurate. If we do traditional stuff with impressions, we're allowing a lot of points of error to enter. Maybe the water, you don't have enough in there. So the impression material isn't mixed properly to manufacturer's instructions. So maybe it has a 0.5% shrinkage to it. So now we're going to pour up the stone model, and maybe that you don't do enough, the right water to stone ratio. Well, now we've got another 0.5% error introduced there. Every little step that a human being is involved in can be a new step for error. Now, luckily, most of the stuff we do in dentistry can accommodate some of that error based on the materials of what we use. But why wouldn't you use something where there is less of a chance of error there? So I'm just going to scroll through, making sure nobody's like stuck with that. For those of you who are doing it with the camera off, turn the camera on if you have a moment of panic, and we'll try to talk you through it. But it looks like people are doing well. Good job. Oh, cool. Yay. Woohoo. Good job, people. Very nice. So that really is one of the better reasons to do digital impressions, is it is more accurate. It really is. Which again is better dentistry for you. What else can I say about impression? There are lots of different materials. Alginate is probably actually one of the worst types of materials. The only thing we really use it for are study models. So just like I want to have just a model of the patient's mouth, so they don't have to like be tethered to the chair anytime I'm thinking about how to do their case. I can have that. Now from these models too, you can mount them on things that are called an articulator. It's basically a jaw simulator that allows you to open and close and see how the patient bites and moves across their teeth, which for a lot of what I do in dealing it with patients in pain too, is finding out how to adjust their bite to avoid those interferences that are causing the jaw to hit one side first, the jaw to deflect a little bit, causing muscle pain, which causes jaw pain, which causes headaches, which causes neck aches, all these things. And if we can practice how we would adjust somebody's bite on stone, we can really fine tune what we need to do. You'll have the experience a lot as a dentist. Patients say, oh, can't you just grind that down? Well, yeah, you can always just grind something down. But the problem is when you grind that down, you don't know what's going to happen somewhere else in the mouth. So taking those stone models and doing that trial grinding, or what we call a trial equilibration beforehand, is a really powerful tool in knowing what to do. So I still see some impression trays in there. We'll let everybody finish up there before we go over pouring the stone model. Let me see, will this let me do anything? I don't know where I'm sending this model to, but what's really cool, and I got an awesome new toy over December for myself, is I bought myself a 3D printer. So basically from these digital models, I can print them out instead of having to pour all that stuff up. And even cooler, I have a software where I can design night guards or really anything for a patient and print that out. Oops, sorry, Ruth, I just saw you had that. If yours is rubbery, it's probably done. And it's been 2 minutes later, so it's definitely done. So Ruth, if you haven't taken yours out, take it out. This I just printed over the weekend. It's a night guard based off of my digital model, uploaded into the software that I made this for, custom fit to my mouth, and goes right in there. I was so excited to finally get this. It's so cool to be able to do that. Because normally what I would do is, even with the digital model, I'd send it off to the lab. It would take maybe 2-3 weeks for them to make whatever they needed to and get it back to me. Then I'd bring the patient in. I can print this overnight. It takes me maybe 5-10 minutes to design this with the software, and then 90 minutes to print it out. So it's a pretty cool thing. I'm excited to incorporate it more into my practice. Eventually, like I said, I do a lot of sleep apnea stuff. Eventually, they'll allow us to print these. Right now, sleep apnea appliances are a class 2 medical device as classified by the FDA. So there has to be all this type of regulation around it. That's silly, but those are the rules, and that's what we play by. So I think everybody who I can see is done. Is everybody done taking models of themselves who wanted to? If so, what we'll do real quick is I'll go over how to pour up the models, so that way you can have that setting in stone and set off to the side somewhere. This may be a little messy, so if you've got definitely paper towels, not like bath towels or anything, have that set aside there to set it on. And then once the stone is set up in an hour, you can soak this in water, and then pull off the impression tray, and you'll have a stone model of your mouth. Normally, like I said, I like doing 2 pours to have a base that makes it a little easier to separate. What you may want to do is, actually, I don't know how much stone she gave you, but anyway, did we give you 1 or 2 mixing bowls? 2? Awesome. We must have really liked it. So with the, oh, we do have that in there. With the second mixing bowl, dump your stone into it. Now, when you mix water with stone, you kind of get, especially with what we gave you here, you kind of get 1 shot. So if you're nervous about doing this correctly at first, save some of the stone to the side, because if you make it too watery, you're kind of up the creek, but that's okay. It's a learning thing. It's also more helpful too if we were in the office, or if I was at campus with you guys doing this in person. We would have these little vibrating tables that when you mix the stone up, you would put the impression on the table and start putting the stone in there, and it would kind of shake it to smooth it evenly to fill in all the nooks and crannies. You guys are probably going to have a lot of little holes in the model without that. That's okay. It's not the end of the world. This is just for fun. So when you mix up the stone, you may want to just get some water in the cup on the side there, and you're going to want to slowly add, sorry, I've got way too much stone in here on my end. You're going to want to slowly add water, and I'll show you first what it is, because the consistency of the stone, it really is a fine balance. You want it in between that watery or too solid. So you really want to Goldilocks it here. So you add water gradually. The stone takes about 30 minutes to set up, so you've got time. So I just added a little bit of water here. I probably have a lot more stone than you, but as I'm slowly putting it in with the water I have, you can see that hopefully without it getting on my computer, it's pretty clumpy. That's not the consistency I want, and not all of it's dissolved. So I'll add some more water. Again, adding hot water will make it set up faster, cold water a little slower there. So, and I am right by my computer and in my lab, so I'm being a wimp when I'm mixing instead of just vigorously doing it. But what I've got now, the consistency, there we go. Now we're a little better. Right now, my consistency is a little still too runny there for what I would want. Now, again, it may be the best thing for what we're doing today, since I don't have that little mixing table. So when you take it up, it should just kind of drip off there in clumps. That may be a good consistency. But when you mix it, you want to just kind of mix it a lot to get out all the air bubbles. And it should have kind of a smooth, and we're going to go like this, smooth and creamy consistency to it. Almost like warm peanut butter, I guess, would be a good description of it. So that peanut butter that's kind of like oozing there. Once you get it to the proper consistency, and it's good, again, if you're nervous about mixing here, leave some stone aside. If it's too watery, then you can take some of that stone you have on the side and add it back in to thicken it up again. If it's too thick, you can obviously add water. So Sophia, no, you don't want to pour all the stone in, set some of it to the side too. And once you've got that, you just, this is where I'm going to destroy my computer. Once we've got that mixed up the way we're happy with, we just kind of scoop up. You cannot even see what I'm doing. Scoop up and then just kind of dump it and tap it in there. So once you get a good amount of material in there like that, you can kind of just hit it on the table, and that'll kind of spread it out. And then you can keep doing some more. Has anybody ever, is anybody a dental assistant? Has anybody ever done this before? Oh, cool. So yeah, some of you guys know what's up here. Not rocket science. And hopefully I'm saying everything right then, because I always forget to ask that and whether or not I can just make things up on the fly or not. But hopefully I've been right. So I just keep adding some of that in there. And again, once I get to the level of the highest part of the impression material with a runnier consistency, that's where I'm going to stop. If I was in my office, I would let this set up as is, and then I would go back and add another layer to give me a base or something to hold on to. OCD thing of myself, and for those of you who are dental assistants, you never let an alginate especially set up by being flat on the table. The weight of the stone setting will push the alginate out. And I talked about areas we can add deformities to there. That's one of them. So you always have it kind of like, we have a little tree that supports it out here to hang it, so you don't meet that resistance from the tray doing that. Now I have some more stone. So what I'm going to do is, with the remainder runny stone I have in my bowl, I'm just going to add some stuff, some of the powder to it again, to make it a little thicker. So we're getting a, not clumpy, but it's going to kind of hold its form a bit more. And I have to kind of shake it off there to get the consistency I'm looking for. And that'll be my base consistency. And then I'll just kind of slather it on here and gently press around. You don't want to really tug when you're pouring up stone in an impression here, because, or really like vigorously go at it, because what it can do is it can pull up the material that's in the teeth that you actually want the positive positive image of. Now, if you were doing a 2-part pour, then that won't matter. If it's set stone, you're not going to worry about deforming the stone there. So I'm just going to use the rest of mine because waste not, want not. And again, this is why you'll need a towel, because even after you put it in there, some of it may run out slowly. That's okay. Just have a paper towel underneath there and it'll be fine. Although really you don't even want paper towels because the paper is going to absorb the water and cause the setting to go weird. Again, OCD, I'm a dentist. This is what happens. Get used to it, everyone. This is your future. But in the end, what I've got is in my impression, I've got a stone model here with a thicker base on top of it. So when I soak it in water later to kind of separate it, I'll have something to rest against. And then if this were set up in my office, then we'd take it to our grinding wheel, smooth out things, get some nice angles to it, make it look presentable. Because when you show a patient a model of something, if we're talking from a business end of dentistry here, and you're trying to sell dentistry to them, we always want to help patients, but part of dentistry is making a living for yourself and running a business if you're in private practice. So you got to think, like, when you're showing a patient a model of their teeth, do you want it looking all jagged and raggedy and it just looks gross? Nobody's going to say yes to something you show them like that. You want them to look pretty. I mean, normally what you can do too is in the stone, you can add some stuff to make it look glossy, or there's even stuff you can paint on it so it looks presentable. Stone comes in lots of different colors. It's all blows my mind every time when you pour it up in yellow stone and they'll just be like, are my teeth really that yellow? I was like, yes, 100% they're that yellow. Of course, I got stone that replicates the exact color of your teeth. Lucky you. Patients say weird stuff. Like I had a woman, it doesn't even matter. Anyway, so you guys can pour those up now. And yes, any extra material you can just throw out. There, you don't need it. Probably not enough to do it on somebody else. So, and also don't reuse stuff that's been in your mouth on somebody else. That's a OSHA violation, I'm sure. But that's impressions. I'll show this real quick too, just as a final thing. This is the Invisalign outcome simulator. Now, my assistant Bree has pretty straight teeth to begin with, but I'll move this a little closer. We've got the models over here are what her teeth currently look like. And you can see she's got a little crowding, and then it will show me, well, Invisalign can straighten that out for you. And then you can even show, now with her, it's not as impressive, the before and after, but for patients who have really crooked teeth to start, that's a really big wow factor that they're like, oh, okay, I want that. And you can use these models to then show the patients like, well, yeah, and when your teeth are a little more straight, it's easier to clean the teeth, and the bone levels will be better and the gums will be healthier. And when we get these teeth in the right position, they won't wear across each other. That's causing your teeth to crack and need crowns. So having models, whether digital or in person, physical, of somebody's mouth can be a really powerful education and communication tool for your patients. So I'm a huge fan of them. We do wax ups where maybe people's teeth are a little uneven, but they don't want to go through braces, but they want to know what veneers would look like. So what we do is we send it to the lab. They'll either digitally or with wax make an ideal perfect smile. And then what I can do is I can then take an impression of that ideal and go into the patient's mouth with it and put some temporary material on there, put it on their teeth, and they can see in their own mouth what that looks like. Again, really powerful tool. There's a lot of softwares out there too, where you can do that, where you can show like, oh, this is the picture of what your teeth would look like if we did this work. But in the end, that's a picture. Patients want to feel, they want to see, they want to ask somebody's opinion when they smile. Now, you can't do it for everyone. If somebody's tooth is really out far and they don't want braces and we're just going to cut it back and do a crown, yes, we can't do this trial smile, we call it, on them. But we can show them on the models what we can do and explain to them why we can't. So like I said, impressions are just really important in communicating to your patients and in doing the dentistry that we do. Yeah, that's impression stuff. So what we could do for however long you guys want, I got nothing on my plate the rest of the night. I blocked this out here. I'm happy to just talk about some things I do in my practice, kind of my dental journey, how I got to where I am, things I do like that, or just do Q&A stuff. I'm open to anything. And again, you can ask questions in the chat box. You can unmute yourself. I'm happy to do that. See, Alexa, how long do we let the impression sit with the stone? It'll probably take an hour for it to set up all the way. I would say just leave it overnight and tomorrow try to separate it out. Remember, soak it in water first. It will help make the material easier to get out. If you leave it overnight, that dental impression material will probably look all flaky and crusty. That's normal. With dental impressions, you really, and again, downside of them, you only get one shot to really pour it up to get the information you need. If you broke teeth on the model coming out of it, you're calling the patient back and saying, hey, I need you to come back to take a model again. And they're going to be pretty upset with you versus digital when it is here and perfect and great. Actually, when you guys are thinking about how you want to do, I will, I'm going to pull up a patient who I know we did a lot of movements with Invisalign on to show kind of a cool case there. She was actually, love her to pieces, one of my worst Invisalign patients. We started her before she was getting married and a destination wedding, and she decided she didn't want the little attachments on her teeth in the wedding after all, even though she said she was okay. So then I brought her in, took everything off, then she fell off the face of the earth for a month, then came back and her trays didn't fit. So we had to start her over again. And then she just didn't like wearing them all the time. So then it never went well. We started this 2017 with her, and we finally finished in February of this year. And I was like, awesome, thank you. Why is it not letting me do that? But anyway, so I'll just keep talking. You guys can feel free. Also, I'm not holding you hostage. If you have stuff to do, feel free to go out, but I'm here to answer questions, just talk about stuff as this is loading. Like I said, I went to University of Maryland, first dental school in the world, so go us. It's crazy to think it was a brand new school when I went there. Gosh, now it's a 15-year-old school. So some of the things that were really cool, and I'm a big technology guy in case you couldn't tell from all the stuff I have around here. But they only had digital x-rays when I went there. I've never had to develop film x-rays in my life. Now what stinks is on our dental boards, there were still questions on like film radiography. Luckily I took photography in high school, so I was able to kind of like piece together what was going on there. But it was a really technologically advanced school. Had a great time there. Graduated, moved on to my residency at Christiana Hospital. And like I said, any type of post-op education I think is key for dental students. It is unfortunate. And I am fearful. I would be very fearful right now to go to any dentist who graduated last year or this year. I mean, there are people who didn't do a single root canal, haven't done a crown, and are getting dental degrees because of COVID, which I mean is, I know it's hard. You got to find that balance because these people have paid hundreds of thousands of dollars, but there just weren't patients to do it. But that's why a residency is important. Residencies or AGDs, AEGDs, advanced education in general dentistries, are great for the general dentist wanting to kind of refine their skills, kind of get into that private practice mentality. Because when you graduate dental school, it's going to take you 2 hours to do one filling. You got to be able to do that in 15 minutes in private practice. They ain't got the time to spend 2 hours to do one filling. You'll go broke. But it's a way to develop your skills and confidence doing those residencies. I see a question. Do you know you wanted to go into general dentistry or to consider specializing? I thought I wanted to be a pediatric dentist, and then I found out I hate kids. I'm very good with kids. For the most part, kids love me when we're working on them, but oh my God, it is exhausting. It is the Dr. Andy show with a kid. It's verbal diarrhea, just talking so much so they like can't figure out what's going on. Like I walk away physically exhausted from like a one filling appointment with a 3-year-old sometimes. God bless the pediatric dentists who do that. Now, luckily, one of the things I have in my tool belt that isn't normal for a lot of dentists is I take a lot of patients to Wilmington Hospital and we put them under general anesthesia and do everything they need. I'm one of the only dentists in this state who actively treats special need patients. And a lot of that population, they won't even let us look in their mouth in the office. So like tomorrow morning, I've got a case at 7:30. This patient wouldn't let me see anything. We're going to look in their mouth the first time when they're under anesthesia. And it's either going to be, oh, just some tartar, I got to clean them. Or it's going to be, what the F did I get myself into? And it's going to be 5 hours of dentistry. Now, it's a great service. I love doing it. It's one of the most professionally rewarding things I do in my career is working with the special needs population. And we always want to try to get them in the office too, to get the work done. We want to kind of help them graduate from being put under, because you're talking about a medically compromised group of individuals. Going under general anesthesia is risky for healthy people sometimes. So we want to try to avoid that with them. I've been doing it for about a decade with that. Like I said, it's really rewarding. But one of the more rewarding things with that group is when I have a parent come into the office and they say, oh, they won't like they'll sit the patient down. They won't let you look in their mouth. And excuse me. And then we're able to do a full exam. We're able to do a cleaning on them. It's a really, it's all about the behavioral part of dentistry. So the non-clinical skills that you'll learn in school, but it's talking to a patient. I mean, one of the things that infuriates me when I work with some patients with special needs is the caregiver, because a lot of them live in group home. It's not family who brings them. The caregiver will say, well, he doesn't talk. Well, he's deaf. He can't hear you. Doesn't mean I don't treat them like a human being. Now, deaf, obviously, I have to come up with some interpretation so they can understand what's going on. But just because somebody doesn't talk or they don't understand, you talk to them like you would any patient. And that's why I think I have success, is because these patients who can't talk or can't understand, it's not that they can't understand, it's nobody's treated them like they could understand. So it's always like when I have parents like, oh my gosh, they've never done that before. I'm like, well, nobody's treated them like a human being. And that sucks. That just doctors have always been like, oh, no, sorry, can't do it. But I really, really like working with that. That's a long tangential thing of I don't like kids, but I like working with special needs patients and can bring kids to the operating room. There are lots of dental specialties out there. We just got 2 new ones in the last 2 years, dental anesthesiology, and then oral facial pain. Oral facial pain is, you get those patients who really, again, doctors have said to them, oh, and dentists, oh, that's a crazy patient. There's nothing wrong with their teeth, but they're talking about pain. I work with a lot of those patients, and a lot of that comes from sleep apnea issues there. I mean, I could talk about sleep forever. It's my favorite topic, and one of my favorite things to do in dentistry is help patients breathe better and get healthier there. But that kind of falls into the oral facial pain. And technically, I'm not a specialist in that, but I am, but I can't call myself that legally or ethically. So yeah, I didn't know I wanted to do it, but really my practice is shifting from doing just general dentistry to really focusing more and more on airway health and breathing there. We had a question, what's the most important thing, educational life skills did you learn from being in undergrad that still helps you in the dental field now? It's a good question, very good question, Gina, putting me on the spot. I should have screened these before reading them out loud. I mean, one of the things that I really learned in undergrad that helped me out in dental school was being able to have good time management while doing a lot. When I was I'm a very, very type A person, and that's good and bad, but I mean, I did a lot when I was in undergrad. I was on the rowing team all 4 years. I was a bio major. I had 3 minors. I was a tutor with the Academic Enrichment Center and did my own weekly bio review course for 207 and 208. I was a TA. I was a tour guide. I was a summer orientation leader. I was a nerd. It's okay. But I did a lot of things that I had to balance, that I had a lot of schedules to coordinate. And doing that was, it was a good skill to learn in undergrad when it's a little lower stakes than being in dental school, where really like screw ups can be repeating classes, repeating years, things you don't want to do. And I stayed busy in dental school. I was a competitive rower still all 4 years of dental school. And I coached a high school rowing program. I was my class and then student body president of my dental school class, and did pretty well, if I do say so myself, on the education front. But by being able to balance that, that was really important. And it's not just being able to balance a schedule. It's, you don't want to be engrossed into one thing. Like, it was important for me to do non-dental stuff every day. Teeth are great, don't get me wrong. They're also boring as hell when that's the only thing you do in your life. So it was important for me to do something athletic every day in dental school and go out rowing. It was important for me to be able to interact with non-dental people and be a rowing coach and do other things there. That helps keep you sane, because if you're not careful, you will go insane in dental school. It's a lot of stuff, so you need to get that balance. I don't know what this screen is. Educationally, I think I've talked to pre-dental societies over the last decade at UD. Take microbiology if you haven't already. That's like the only science class I didn't take. And they cover a full semester of microbiology in about like 5 weeks in dental school, but you're expected to know everything. And I was just like, these names are overwhelming. It was like, you'll at least be familiar with it. Like, it was all a foreign language to me. That's like the one class I regret not having taken when I was an undergrad. But so that was an important thing, I would say there. Yeah. Like I said, I'm in private practice. I like it a lot. I'm a big, there's a continuing education center called the Pankey Institute. It's where I've done most of my continuing education, which is something you continue to do in throughout your career. You've got to meet certain requirements. What I like about that is it aligns with my views a little better. My practice is very relationship based with our patients. It's not just, oh, you're here for a filling. Okay, I did it. It's done. Goodbye. It's being more than just the dentist to the patient, making them feel like they're more than just your next car payment, because that's what they'll. I drove a beat up hoopty Honda Accord that somebody drove a grocery cart into the front bumper. I never got repaired. When patients my hygienist had what did she have? A very fancy SUV. I don't even remember. And people would look out the windows like, oh, is that your car? I was like, nope, that one's mine. So you are paying for that, not that there. So, but they think like everything's your next car payment or boat payment or beach house payment. But that we try to take that out of the equation and have this relationship-based practice. And that's what, when I go down to Florida to the Penke Institute, where they really focus on is having that relationship with the patients to make them feel like they're getting valuable dentistry. And I really should know my office mission statement a little better, but oh no, impactful. I don't remember. I should. That's horrible. I'm a bad person. But one of the things I talk about in my mission statement is I want to do dentistry that's impactful in a patient's life and valued by the patient. My dentistry is not A+ every day, but I try to make the patient aware when it's not, like these are the limitations of what we've done. This is things to expect that could happen afterwards, but really make them feel like what they received was the best dentistry I could do for them when they were there with me. And that's what I really think we have with our practice. And I learned something new on the behavioral and emotional side of dentistry every time I go down to the Penke Institute. And now I'm visiting faculty down there when we talk about sleep stuff. So that's really something we stress in this world. Everybody thinks patients are insurance driven. I only want to do what my insurance will cover. I only want to go to an in-network dentist. We're only in network with one insurance, and frankly, I would rather not be, because it's one, I think it's unethical to dental insurance to exist. Two, dental insurance is not insurance. It's a gift card that you can only use for certain things and only a part of those certain things. It's not like medical insurance, where if you were in a catastrophic car accident after you met your $2,000 deductible, they would pay for everything. Dental insurance is, oh, you need a crown? Well, that crown is $1,500. You only have $1,000 in insurance, and we're only going to let you use half of it for that crown. But patients think they have insurance. But we try to take that out of the equation for them and help them understand the value in the dentistry we're doing. The majority of my patients are not in network with me. And a lot of patients who leave because they want to go to an in-network dentist come back because it wasn't the same experience. They saw the value we were giving them after they went somewhere else. How do you get into private practice? Do you have a business interest in undergrad? I was an econ minor just because I liked drawing graphs. I don't really use any of that information I learned as an econ minor doing that. Getting into private practice was tough. When I was in my residency, that December of the residency year, I went on the Delaware State Dental Society website. I pulled up the list of dentists who were members and were within a 30-minute radius of where I wanted to live. And I sent all of them a cover letter and a resume. And I said, you want to know what you need? An associate. And that's me. And some people wrote back. A couple were dead. The State Dental Society should really update that, but that's okay. So I got into private practice that way. And luckily I found a practice where the guy was like, listen, I want to retire in 2 years and I'm looking to sell my practice. So in our associateship contract, it was built right in there that, hey, Dr. Swiatowicz is going to buy the practice as early as July 1st, 2013. And that's when we did it. That's a very rare thing to have. I was very fortunate to have that extended to me, but it was a great opportunity. I took it. And here I am in 2015. I bought a building about a mile down the road from where I was, renovated it and made it into a dental practice here. So kind of what I needed, because the practice that I was before was what that other guy needed for his practice. And I had some different things that I was going for. But no, actually, I hate to say it, one of the things I hate the most about dentistry is the business end of it, because you're not taught how to be a business-minded person in dental school. You get your mandatory 4 hours, according to ADIA, of practice management education over 4 years. And basically, we had the intro lecture, Then an accountant came in, and the catch of that was hire an accountant. And a lawyer came in, and the catch of that lecture was hire a lawyer. And then the third one was a practice transition and management specialist, and it was hire a practice management specialist. I don't know why we needed 4 hours of lecture for that, but we got it. I learned on the fly, and I'm still learning on the fly. It's a lot of stuff, and it's overwhelming at times. It's one of the most stressful things I do, because I have 10 other people relying on a paycheck and relying on me to produce dentistry to keep them employed. And that's daunting and scary at times. It's not for everyone. I do not fault anyone who doesn't want to own a practice and who just says, you want to know what? Want to drill teeth from 9 to 4? Then I want to go home and not worry about anything. I'm on call 24/7. I could have a patient call me right now wanting to come in. Most of the time you talk them off the cliff, but occasionally there are emergencies. God bless this man for staying with me, but I should have been killed. On my husband's birthday in December, we had a patient who had a true dental emergency. Her 3-year-old was bouncing on her lap, hit her front tooth, knocked it forward about 45 degrees. Went into the office, got her numb, pushed it back into place, put a little splint across it to hold it steady. At 8 o'clock, and luckily I was only 1 glass of wine in, so I could still do it. I told the patient, don't worry. I was like, oh, it's my husband's birthday. I had a glass of wine. If you're still comfortable with me coming in, I'm a big guy. I can handle more than a glass, even if it's a heavy COVID pour. But that's the hard part with owning your own practices. You're everything. But now you hire the right people to work with you who can support you. You have the right coaches and people involved in it too. But it can be daunting. I remember I used to, when I first bought my practice, I would finish with patients and I would stay for 2 or 3 hours afterwards. And there's always something to do. Like I could do this, I could answer these emails, I could do, all this stuff. You got to learn how to cut ties with it. And that's a hard thing for a type A person like most dentists to do. Would you consider your practice holistic? I mean, that's a loaded question in of itself, because holistic can mean a couple things. I take a full body approach with our patients. Like I said, I'm very big into sleep and airway health. And I mean, if you're around me enough, my solution to everything is, oh, you probably have sleep apnea or a sleep-related breathing problem. A lot of times I'm right. I'm pretty good at identifying it. But I do look at the patient as a whole. They're not just Dr. Penke, who founded the Penke Institute. His saying was, I've never seen a tooth walk into my practice. You see a patient walk into the practice and they happen to have teeth. So you do have to take a look at the full body approach there. And we work with patients on where they are and what their goals are. That's important. I had a patient in today, we're reconstructing his entire upper jaw with a hybrid, which is essentially a denture screwed directly to implants that replaces all of his teeth. We took his bite reading at what we call centric relation, which is an orthopedic position of the jaw joint. So the bite was accurate for that. He's biting into this temporary or this set above, and he's like, this isn't comfortable. I don't like this. I'm not going to stamp my feet and beat my chest saying like, this is the position you're supposed to be and get used to it. You have to understand where the patient is. He's like, no, I want to be more forward. That's comfortable for me. Okay, you're going to be wearing these teeth every day. We got to get you comfortable with that. So we do take a holistic approach in that sense. How did I get into sleep medicine? Again, I've got a wonderful story and 10 hours of CE I give on the topic, but I have sleep apnea. I've had it my whole life. When, as a kid, constant snoring, mouth breathing, going away on regattas. People didn't want to room with me because I was the loud snoring kid, which was really just me crying for help and not breathing and slowly dying in my sleep. Thank you to all my friends for not telling me this. So it's a personal thing. That's how I really got into sleep. And I wear a sleep appliance every night. And I just a couple weeks ago, I got a frenectomy done. That little piece of tissue that holds your tongue to the bottom of your mouth, if it's really tight in some patients, it could prevent the tongue from moving properly, which in children can impact jaw development because the tongue is how our jaws grow. It needs to move freely. But in adults, it can be one of the things that exacerbates sleep apnea. One day I'll put it in a presentation, but I have a 20-minute video of the procedure where used the laser to cut it, and then they started snipping the muscle off of that tissue. It was actually, even I couldn't watch it, and I have a pretty strong stomach, but maybe we won't put it in presentations. But sleep medicine is a very personal thing to me, and I've seen how treating sleep apnea changed my life. Like, I would go, every time I would go to sleep, I'd wake up 7 times a night. That's not normal. And I'd have to go to the bathroom and I'd be, oh, big glass of water before bed. Oh, I got to remember not to do that next time. No. When you stop breathing at night, you breathe against a closed airway, creates negative pressure, which puts a strain on the heart, which releases hormones to go to your brain to say you're in fight or flight mode, to pull water out and put it in your kidneys and into your bladder, filling it up and making you have to go to the bathroom. So when people say that, they're just kidding themselves. But so it's a very personal thing, and treating it has changed the way I sleep in my life, really. Courses or programs that can help ease your way into private practice. Yes, there is a ton out there. Pankey Institute does a lot of work-life balance, which helped me kind of cut the cord at the end of the day of the practice and not stay in there the whole time. But yeah, there are lots of courses out there to help dentists get ready for owning a practice. I have a practice management consultant. She works in my accountant's office, and I'll get tune-ups from her every now and then, like, hey, I'm having this staffing issue, or I just feel like I need to produce more. What can we be doing differently? It's good to have an outside view and work with these people. So there's a lot out there, but again, much like anything in life, buyer beware. Do your research on it ahead of time. Are there any requirements or experience needed to get a job as a dental assistant? So yes and no. I mean, dental assistants used to be just like, hey, you want to be a dental assistant? Come on in and I'll train you. There are a lot of programs out there now, a lot of VOTEC high schools that train students in high school to be assistants. Having some formal training is always good to kind of get up to speed with stuff. But much like a lot of dentistry is in dental school, dental assisting is can be learning on the job. And with what I do, I sleep medicine. Most dental assistants don't get any experience on that. Luckily, it's not rocket science to do from a dentist or dental assistant perspective, the clinical part of it, but they don't know about it. A lot of dental assistants haven't placed implants. When I first started placing implants myself, went down to the butcher, got a pig jaw, and we had the assistants place implants in that so they could experience what that was and learn it. The way I make night guards is very specific in what they do to help with pain management and creating a stable bite. Most people won't have that experience beforehand, and it is learning on here. So, but in terms of, there are some things that are, you have to do it through a formal program, like getting your radiology license. And as a dental assistant, you really do have to take x-rays. I hired one once who did not have her x-ray certification. You can't do that. So if you're interested in going, whether you're in dental school or doing it now, trying to get your x-ray certification will be kind of a key thing to have a dentist think you're valuable to the team there. So yeah, good questions from everyone there. A lot of variety of the topics. That's really all. I love getting to talk with you guys. I hope we can do it in person one day. And I'm always open to coming in and talk other stuff. I know a few years back, I had a couple different dentists. I talked about sleep. One of my friends who does Botox talked about that with you guys. One who does just the frenectomies on infants and newborns. She talked about that. So kind of the atypical dentistry. It's not all about drilling and filling. There's a lot of other stuff that that goes on with it too. So it's cool to get those experiences and hear what people have done with it. So, but that's all I got. Thanks for coming out tonight, spending some time with us. I hope it was interesting. I hope nobody damaged any teeth taking impressions, and hopefully you guys can break out your model and see what it looks like. So thanks again, everyone. Have a good night, and feel free to email me if you have any questions about stuff. My email address is Delaware Tooth Doctor, all spelled out, all one word. Delaware spelled out, Tooth Doctor, DOCTOR @gmail.com. So cool.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you.
Enjoyed it, and have a good night.
Thank you.
If any of you are going through HPEC, I may or may not be interviewing you. So I'm the nice one.
Way.
So
That's so cool. I didn't know that.
yeah,
I
yeah,
don't-
I've been doing that since, oh God, I think since I graduated dental school. So almost a decade too.
That
So,
makes me feel so
Awesome.
scared.
but like I said, I'm the easy one. I'm the just like, there aren't going to be any crazy questions. Some of these people ask weird questions on the interview. I'm just like, I don't know what you're hoping to gain from that, but they do it. So anyway, guys, have a great evening.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Send an email with the recording of tonight's meeting so we can upload it for the people who weren't there.
Oh, sure. It is recorded. Yes, it is recording. Yeah, once I do that, I'll put it in Dropbox or something, or give you guys a link for it. Okay.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Email me to remind me to do that, because as you've seen from my email chains, even when I get reminders, I'm not the best. So I will
All right, I will remind you. Thank you.
Have a good day,
Thank you so
guys.
much.